Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's book tag time, y'all. Well, it's actually way past book tag time. I'm gonna do the mid-year freak out book tag, even though it's like 3/4 of the year freak out book tag time. But I kept putting this one off, and I don't know why, but I'm glad that I did, and I'll explain why in a minute. But before we get into all that, y'all go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. All right, let's just jump straight into this because we have so much to talk about, and I'm already so late getting this done. I have the list of prompts, so let's just jump in. So the first prompt is the best book you've read so far. And y'all, really, I should cut myself off at like the books that I read during the first half of the year, but I'm not going to. And I'll tell you why when we get to it. But this book I really did read in the first half of the year. And the best book that I've read so far this year is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Now, I vlogged it, I've talked about it, I ranted and raved about it. Y'all, I love Addie LaRue. In The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, Addie essentially makes a deal with the devil. And the deal is that she won't age, but in return for not aging, as soon as she's out of someone's sight, they forget about her. So she'll never be remembered. And the book follows her through time, and it's just a really interesting sort of treatise, I guess, on how important it is to be remembered and sort of to leave your mark, and how important a name is. Because part of, I don't want to tell too much, and I'm afraid to really talk about it because my memories of the book are a little bit muddled, so I don't remember what happens when, but I just want to say nobody can say her name, like her actual Addie LaRue name. So there's a lot in this book about how important a name is, like a person's actual name. So it's beautifully written. There's a dual timeline of sort of modern day Addie and like past day Addie, watching the development of how she got into this whole situation. And it's beautifully written, and I just love it. I'm not sure if it's considered historical fiction, but I consider it historical fiction because I don't read historical fiction. So the best book that I've read so far this year is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and that's prompt number 1. Prompt number 2 is the best sequel you've written this year. Did I say written? The best sequel you've read this year. Did I say the best book I've written? Good Lord, y'all, I'm outside my mind. That's the best book I've read this year. The best sequel that I've read, y'all, honestly, I haven't read many sequels. Remember I did the vlog where I read a bunch of first books in a series? Well, in that vlog, I read the first book of the Inheritance Games, and the best sequel that I've read so far this year is, good Lord, I grabbed the Inheritance Games. The second book in this series, all right, I'm gonna go get it. The best sequel I've read so far this year is the Hawthorne Legacy, which I'm steady calling by the wrong name, which is why I had to look at it and actually read the title. So this is book 2 in the Inheritance Games series. And y'all may recall I think I talked about this. I'm reading these with my 15-year-old reluctant reader that I have in a book club. And y'all, she devoured this book. Like, she was so far ahead of me reading this book that I had to like stay up nights reading it to catch up with her. So that's how good this book is. That this little girl who was straight up not gonna read at all this summer, no matter what her mama or I said, chewed up the Inheritance Games and then jumped immediately into Hawthorne Legacy. And when she got this book, she also got The Final Gambit, which is book number 3 in the series. So that's how good these books are. But anyway, so I've said nothing about what these books are about. The Inheritance Games, we've talked about this before. The Inheritance Games is about a girl named Avery who, like out of the blue, inherits a bunch of billions of dollars, inherits this huge estate and has no idea why. And the man who passed away and left her all the money and all the stuff has 4 grandsons, and they are the Hawthorne boys. And Avery, along with the Hawthorne boys and a sort of cast of very colorful supporting characters, are trying to figure out what in the world, why Tobias Hawthorne left her all the money and all the stuff, how she's like related to them or not related but like tied in with them. So that's sort of the gist of all 3 of the books so far. The 4th book comes out on my birthday. Happy birthday to me. The Hawthorne Brothers, that's book 4, comes out on my birthday. So we'll be reading that one and seeing what happens there. But so book number 2 in my summer freakout book tag, this is my favorite sequel that I've read this summer, is The Hawthorne Legacy. Prompt number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but you want to. And for me, that's The Fourth Wing. Y'all, I've picked this book up to start reading so many times, and I want to say I've even started the first page, maybe. No, I haven't. The vlog that I did where I talked about the Brandon Sanderson book, I was going to do this book and then ended up switching to that Sanderson book instead. I don't know why I keep not reading this book. Everybody loves it. And the few vlogs that I've seen where people don't like it, I kind of feel like they don't like it on purpose so that they can like rant about not liking it. Like, it's not that they actually don't like it. But anyway, this is my new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. It is honest to goodness on my list, and I'm gonna get to it. So that's number 3. Number 4, my most anticipated release for the second half of the year is obviously The Brothers Hawthorne. Happy birthday to me. So that'll be out next week on my birthday. I will get it. I've got the Kindle version set to download. I will wake up to some Hawthorns on my birthday. And then I have the actual physical copy coming. So that is 100% my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. My biggest disappointment, y'all, I struggled with this one. Everybody knows, if you saw my vlog of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, I was so disappointed by this book. Partially, I think, because I wanted to love it so much. I didn't hate it. Like, it wasn't Peace Like a River. Y'all, I hated Peace Like a River. I didn't hate Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, but I was really disappointed by it. There were some quirks about it. I felt like Gabrielle Zevin shoved in some like social justice warrior stuff where it didn't need to be. And not that I disagreed with any of her takes, but I just felt like they were so awkwardly jammed into the book that they didn't work. In much the same way that she jams in words that, like, by definition might work where she uses them, but the way she uses them is so awkward. While I was reading it, I seriously felt like I was reading some bad vocabulary lessons that my students had written. It was a huge disappointment for me, to the point where there was only like bad things happened to a lot of the characters in this book. There was one character that I liked, and he like leaves the narrative halfway through. And when the bad stuff happens to other characters, I was just like, all right, what, like, are we still here? Let's move on. So this was far and away, okay, not far and away. This was a huge disappointment for me. Again, partially because of the book itself, and partially because I think I had built it up so much and expected so much from it. I'm supposed to pick my, like, one disappointment. I was also, I read, this is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I think me not liking Coraline was totally my fault because I don't like Neil Gaiman. So I went into it expecting not to like it. And, I should take it back. This wasn't a disappointment. Neil Gaiman didn't disappoint me at all. I did not like Coraline. There's nothing about Coraline that I liked. So this would be a book that I didn't like and that lived up to my expectations versus a book that I really expected to like that just really disappointed me. And I just made up this prompt. There's not a prompt for that because who would ask that question? Anyway, Number 6 is biggest surprise that you read, either author or book. And mine is the book Hoot by Carl Hyacin, of which I will stick in a picture here because I've loaned out my physical copy. Now, I like Carl Hyacin and I expected to like this book. This is a it's not even young adult. This is a middle grades book, and it's about a boy named Roy who's being bullied. His family moves around a lot because of his dad's job, and Roy's being bullied in his new school, and he ends up in this sort of scheme to save some owls, hence Hoot. And again, I like Carl Hyacin. I expected to like the book, but I didn't expect to like it this much. It's very witty. There's some not really dark humor, but like some not off color in like a naughty way, but like off in like a Carl Hyacin way that I really didn't expect to find in this middle grades book. So if anybody is looking for some chapter books to read with their middle grade or even young adult, like upper middle school, lower high school readers, I recommend Hoot, and really probably any of Carl Hyacin's middle grades books, because I assume they're all going to have the same witty Carl Hyacin like humor and banter to them, the same that Hoot did. And that was a great surprise for me, and I really enjoyed it. So that's number 6. Biggest surprise was Carl Hyacin's Hoot. Number 7 is my new favorite author, and I have 2 of them. One is, no big surprise, Emily Henry, and I think she's my new favorite author from this year because I think I read Book Lovers was the first of her books that I read, and I think I read it this year. So she counts for this year. And my other new favorite author is Kristen Higgins, who I always want to call Kristen Hanna, but Kristen Hanna is somebody completely different, whom I also adore. But Kristen Higgins is my other new favorite author. And both of these authors write sort of chick lit-ish books. Emily Henry, of course, writes rom-coms. Kristen Higgins' books are romantic, they're comedic, but they have a bit more of a serious edge to them. Both authors write great banter, great characters, great character development, and I really love them both. So those are my 2 new favorite authors for this year, Kristen Higgins and Emily Henry. Y'all, number 8 is new fictional crush. Just go ahead and call it my new Benji. Now, if you know me, or if you watched my Beartown vlog, give me a second. You know I've been looking for my new Benji. I don't think anybody is ever going to take Benjamin Ovich's place in my heart, but y'all, meet Johnny Kavanagh. Johnny Kavanagh is an Irish rugby player, and oh my word, he is rugged and he is a little naughty. He's not as naughty as Benji, so I'm not sure that he's going to be edgy enough, but I'm only on page 76 of all of these pages, and there are at least 2 books about, I don't have the other one over here, there are at least 2 books about my new Benji. There might be more. There are 6 books in the series. It's the boys of, is it Toman or Tommen? There are at least 6 books, and I know that at least the first 2 are about my Johnny. So we'll see, but for right now, oh my, y'all. So again, I'm still looking for my new Benji. And y'all, if you know, you know. If I can find the footage of me listening to the end of book 3 of the Beartown trilogy, I'll drop it in here. And if not, just please believe me when I tell you that it broke my heart. So since that happened last year, I've been looking for my new Benji. And it might be Johnny, it might not be. I don't know, but he is most definitely my new literary crush. And he is the answer actually to numbers 8 and 9, new literary crush and favorite fictional character. Because, y'all, he's big and burly, but, and this happens in like the very beginning of the book, he meets this little girl named Shannon. That's Shannon. And she's little and frail, and he wants, at least up until page 76, and that's as far as I've gotten so far, he wants nothing more than to protect her. And y'all, be still my heart. So Johnny is the answer to numbers 8 and 9, my new fictional crush and my new favorite fictional character. Number 10, the book that made me cry. Y'all, what book doesn't make me cry? So I had to sort of modify it a little bit and say the book that made me ugly cry, Firefly Lane. This is about a friendship between two women. And it starts when they're little girls, and it follows them all the way up into adulthood. And they go through all of the things, they grow apart and they make sacrifices for each other, and one sacrifices for the other, and then the other sacrifices for the one. And y'all, it's all the things that are involved in friendships between women. And at the end of this book, I ugly cried so hard, and it's amazing, and I love it. And there is a second book in this series, and I was like, no thank you, I'm all right, I'm good. I might read it at some point, but I'm okay for now. So Firefly Lane is the book that made me ugly cry the hardest this year, I think. Y'all, let me know if you can think of a book that made me ugly cry harder than this one. I had two. It was this one and Me Before You, but I've loaned out my copy of Me Before You. So I'll stick in a picture here. Me Before You is about a girl who goes to care for a man who is, I was going to say terminally ill. He's not terminally ill, but he's confined to a wheelchair. And from the beginning of the book, we know that he's confined to a wheelchair and that he's not adjusting well to life in the wheelchair. So she spends her time with him trying to make him feel like his life actually is still worth living. So that also made me ugly cry. I think this made me ugly cry harder, but that one got me too, because actually in both of these, I didn't see it coming. Like, I didn't see the ending coming. Kristen Hanna, y'all know I talk about getting Kristen Hanna, where Kristen Hanna does things that make you so sad, and she changes your molecules. And she does this thing where about halfway through the book, something sad happens, and you get through it and you're like, oh, that was the sad part, I'm good. So your defenses are all down, and then you get just laid out and your molecules get all rearranged. So Firefly Lane did that to me, and Me Before You did that to me. So those are the books that made me ugly cry the hardest this year. The next prompt is the book that made me happy, and that's Legends and Lattes. This one also, y'all, they all make me cry. This one also made me cry. But remember, this is about our friend Viv, who is she an ogre? Orc. She's an orc. And when orcs get, when you become an orc of a certain age, you can no longer go around marauding and orking. So she had to retire from orking, and she decided to open a coffee shop. And it's cozy fantasy. Y'all, I think in my discussion of fantasy, I said this is low fantasy because it's fantasy elements interjected into real life. Y'all, look at this book. This is not real life, but I don't even know. I loved it so much. And when I was reading it, I could picture the things that were happening. So it was real life to me. Y'all stop it. Quit judging me. Anyway, it made me so happy. There are sad points, of course, sad things happen in all books, but so good, so happy. I love it. And I love Viv. And it's just a really good book. I told you nothing about it, and Lord, what am I saying? That's a critique that people have of this book, that nothing really happens, but it's a cozy fantasy. You go to the coffee shop with them, you have some coffee, you have a little scone, and the stakes just aren't all that high. That's what's cozy about it. So it was just lovely. It was a nice read. I enjoyed it, and I kind of love Viv a little bit. So Legends and Lattes was the book that made me happy. The Most Beautiful Book, which is prompt number 12, it's a tie between Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Y'all, I actually slogged through, I think I actually did read the entire hardcover of this book. I probably got it on Kindle as well, but I carried this book around, and I would sit in the bed and read this. I don't even have a bedside lamp in my room, because when I'm in the bed, I read on a Kindle. But my mama sent me one of those little night lights to read on your book, because I would read with the overhead light on in the bed when I was trying to fall asleep because I thought this book was so pretty. I wanted to read the book. Look how pretty it is. I still didn't like the book, and honestly, I think that's part of why I wanted to like it so much, because it's so pretty. But anyway, still didn't like it. So it's a tie, the most beautiful book. And y'all, I don't know if this prompt is supposed to be like physically beautiful or like the most beautiful story or what, but I'm going with the most physically beautiful book with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, or The House on the Cerulean Sea. Y'all remember this one? This was the one about he's like a social worker that works with what would be like group homes in the real world, but it's homes for magical children. And he figures out that they're not really homes where like kids go to live until they're adopted. They're like sort of institutional places where the kids are put so that they can be kept together and away from society. And it's troubling, and it's just this really interesting development arc of the main character. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the cover, how pretty the book is. Look how pretty it is. So these are my most beautiful books. I just whacked myself in the head. These are my with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Y'all, I really don't like this book, but these are my most beautiful books of the year. The book that I need to read before the end of the year, y'all, I haven't read any of the ACOTAR books. The A Court of Thorns and Roses. I had to like slow down and get that all straight in my head. How have I not read any of these other than that it's fantasy and I don't read fantasy? Like, how many people have referred to these books in casual conversation with me, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know. So I gotta read this book before the end of the year. It's on the list. I'm gonna. So this is my I gotta read by the end of the list book. I gotta read by the end of the year book. The next prompt is an underrated gem that I've read recently. And y'all, for me, this is a book called White Trash Warlock, or A White Trash Warlock, The White Trash Warlock. I came across this on Audible. And y'all probably know, if you have an Audible subscription, I'm not sure if it's all levels of subscriptions, but I know that if you have the like 1 credit a month subscription, because that's what I have, you get Audible, I think it's called Audible Plus or something. And you can go through and there's a bunch of stuff you can listen to at no additional cost. So like it doesn't cost you any credits or anything. And somehow I came across this White Trash Warlock book. And I started listening to it with no expectations whatsoever, because seriously, it's called White Trash Warlock. And y'all, it was so good. It's about this dude named Adam Binder, I think is his last name. And he's a warlock. He's got the sight. And I don't remember all the details, but I want to say his family isn't down with that. And I know for sure his brother is not down with that. His brother's like a doctor or an accountant or something, has some kind of respectable job over in the city, and wants nothing to do with his brother with the sight. And Adam had spent some time institutionalized because of having the sight. And his brother wants nothing to do with him or, his powers or anything until the demons come a-knocking. And then his brother needs Adam's help. And that's all I'm going to tell you. But y'all, it's very good. Very well written. The banter is so good. It's so quick and so natural. And I don't know if everybody's like, this might just be a normal reader kind of thing. But y'all, I cannot abide stodgy conversation between characters. If the banter between characters isn't good, I just can't. Either I can't read the book or I just skip the conversations, and you can't do that because then you miss a bunch of stuff. The conversation, the banter in these books is so good. Well, in this book, I only read book 1, but it's a whole series, and it was, like I said, I listened to it for free on Audible, and it was in Kindle Unlimited. I don't think it's Kindle Unlimited anymore, but they might still be in Audible for free. So that's my underrated gem. The next prompt is most overrated, and this was a toss-up for me. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow won, but y'all, it was neck and neck with Red, White, and Royal Blue. I think Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow edged it out because I had such high expectations for that book. And again, it seriously, that book really might not be as bad as I think it is. I might have just blown it up so much in my head that I had it way up here and it came in about here. And so now to me, the difference here has it like down here. I know that was crazy. Anyway, so to me, that's the most overrated. This is pretty stinking overrated too, though. So I just read this and I was debating. So I was going to vlog reading it, but then I just read it so fast, I didn't have time. Okay, I didn't take the time to stop and talk about it. This is a story about the first son of the United States falling in love with the Prince of England, which is silly and ridiculous. And I was down for that, y'all. I was down for this little romance between these two boys. They are beautiful. It's a silly little, like, spun sugar romance. Their relationship is really unrealistic, and I was fine with that. Like, they never have any of those sort of growing pain arguments or any of that. I was okay with all of that. It's just this silly little fluffy romance, so whatever. Obviously, the romance between two men was not an issue for me because that's what the book is. So it wasn't that it was the love scenes between the two men didn't bother me. It was a little spicier than I prefer, and not just in a homoerotic relationship, even like boys and like I don't want to see anybody doing that kind of stuff. It wasn't, the way people talk about it, like if it's door open or door closed, like door open means like what you would see if folks are getting busy and the door's open, and door closed is like, they're fixing to get busy and then the next page they've gotten busy and you're dealing with it afterwards, like as if the door were closed and you see nothing. I would say it's like you're peeking through a crack in the door. Like you don't see everything and it's not really graphic, but it's definitely more than door closed, which is more than I appreciate in any kind of book, but whatever. It wasn't even that bothered me in this book. It's the politics that bothers me in this book. And it's not the fact that it's very progressive, very leftist politics, whatever to that. It's that it's written from such a fanboy perspective, I just can't. Like anybody that looks at any politician or any political party as if they're all right, everything that they do is right. The people in that party are heroes. They can do no wrong. They always make the right choices. They always make the right decisions. And if they're doing it, then it must be right. I'm out. That's not okay. And you just can't go through life like that. And that's how this book is written. And it's seriously like half of the book is that kind of junk. So to me, that's the problem with this book, is just the sycophantic way that they deal with the politics, where like everybody on one side is good and everybody on the other side is evil. And quite frankly, it made the story, like as it developed from about 3/4 of the way through, it just made it so predictable that I would have DNF'd it had I not been reading it for a vlog. But like I had to finish it to be able to say, yeah, I finished it and I really don't like it, as opposed to saying, well, I didn't like it so I didn't finish it. I can say 100% I did not like it and that it's overrated, and everybody that I've seen talk about it loves it and raves about it, and y'all, I'm just not that guy. So most overrated is a tie between Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I just whacked myself in the head with this book again, in case you missed it. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Red, White, and Royal Blue. And sorry, y'all, the felons called a quick equipment timeout, so I thought we could just come outside with them, enjoy this lovely Minnesota weather, and talk about our last prompt, which is the video adaptation that you're most looking forward to. Now, I had to adjust that a bit because, y'all, I don't look forward to any video adaptations. Well, I guess that's not really true. I don't look forward to video adaptations of any books that I like because I never end up liking them. Because to me, the characters just aren't right. Like, they don't come off in the video adaptations the way they are in my heads. The voices are wrong, the cadence is wrong, and I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. So I never look forward to a video adaptation of a book that I liked, and especially not a book that I love. But we can talk about the video adaptation that I'm least looking forward to, and that's backwards. Red, White, and Royal Blue. This, I don't know if this is out yet. If it's not out yet, it's coming out soon on Netflix. And y'all, I literally could not care any less. I already don't care about these characters, don't care about the story, and I don't care to see them in video. But like I said, that really has less to do with the story than it does to do with my issue with video adaptations. I don't know if I told y'all, but when Beartown came out on video, it came out, I think, on HBO. And the intern, bless his heart, thought it would be nice for us to watch it together. So he had it on the TV, and I was sitting on the couch and he was behind me in the kitchen. And it was on, and I was reading a book, and y'all, honest to goodness, the only way I got through as much of that as I did is because it's actually in Swedish and it's subtitled. So I had no idea who was saying what, like which of the characters was Benji or Kevin or Maya or any of them, or I wouldn't have gotten through. I think I got through like half an episode before I was finally like, I can't do this. And I had to tell the intern that I really wasn't watching it. But bless his heart, he was like trying to bring my Benji to life. Y'all, that's how good our intern is that he's okay with me being true blue 100% in love with Benji Ovich. Mostly, I guess, because he lives in Sweden and, you know, he's not actually real. But like, he was so okay with it that he was willing to watch this, like, I don't know, 7-part mini-series with me because he knows how much I love my Benji. But anyway, if Beartown on video doesn't work for me, you know nothing on video will ever work for me. But y'all, let me know what you think. Do y'all like watching video adaptations of books that you love? And aside from that, have you done this tag? If so, let us know some of your answers in the comments. And even if not, let us know some of your answers to some of the tags that we've talked about. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you've made it this far, we're definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.